Welcome back to the Racecar rebuild project. Yes, my teammates are back, and most of them bothered to show up at the weekend. With the exception, notable exception, about Mr. Molesworth. Anyway, we got quite a lot done. More homework, yeah. So I dropped off the air dam at Ricky Bibby's, picked up this, needs a bit of tidying up, taking the sticker off already. Obviously going to hazard that up. Clean this, throw away the air filter, get a new one. Horrible, full of dirt from, where was it last? I don't know. Chuckwalla, that was it. Yeah, middle of the desert, middle of bloody nowhere. Anyway, clean it all up, get it looking good. Well, look at that. Yeah, polished, sorted, hazarded. New front wing on. Rear spoiler off. Seat out, ready for bumper car. David missing in action. Front air dam back on, and you'll notice that there's a I don't know, about 4-inch drop off the bodywork with those little panels there, and that's to accommodate the larger radiator. So next up on the Porsche rebuild is the hood. And previously, if you noticed, we basically took out all the structural integrity of the hood in order to save weight, which may be a good idea if you're really scraping for horsepower and whatever. Pounds, ounces, kilograms, whatever you want to call it. Anyway, I think this time around we're going to keep the structural integrity as much as we can, but there's still plenty of metal that you can take out to save weight. Going to be tidying up some of the electrics today. Yes, my favourite job. Possibly installing this air scoop in the door to give us a little bit of a draft. Very helpful. We had it on the Nissan. Good piece of kit. Probably see it going about there. There. Something like that. Might be starting phase 1 of the new paint job. Got some yellow paint over there. And maybe preparing the new hood, if Matt can fit it in his truck, because it won't fit in the FJ. And so Matt very kindly agreed to collect the hood. Took some considerable operations to get it out of his truck again. It involved googling a lot, as you can see, and eventually a broomstick. But we got it out and we got it finished. We added our lubes thanks to the suggestion of one of my viewers, and Matt confirmed that with his Mustang. There we have it, nicely done all the way to here, which goes to the fuel pump, and then these go back to our cooling suit unit, which we may be shifting to here. Marked out where it's going to go. Now we just need to get the right kind of internal measurement to work out what it cut out. Like that. Fuel cap cover, nicely hazarded. Yes, we're back on the race car after most of my colleagues despaired for the entire summer, but then it's too hot to work on it really. Over in Cottonwood it's another 10 degrees. So it turns out our transmission is all good, and actually it's just the linkage that need tightening up a little bit, which is just as well, because apparently Porsche are no longer making parts for the 944 gearboxes, transmissions, transaxles, whatever you want to call them. So that's good news that it's all solid. However, we're planning on putting another 100 horsepower through it. I don't know if that's a good idea or not. I blame David. He found a new engine builder. Apparently it can handle 300 at least, so we should be good. we did discover is that 911 turbo wheels might fit, and they're a lot lighter than the ones we got at the moment. So they would give us another 4 inches of rubber across the back and weigh a lot less, which is pretty cool. Other things we've been investigating and looking into include power steering, and we examined the rack that we've got, which has obviously been tweaked and converted for no power steering, which involves blocking off a lot of orifices. Sadly, that means you can't simply bolt the power steering back in there and it'll all work, because there's internal differences as well, modifications to make it slightly easier on the arms without the power steering. So we have another rack which, if we were to put power steering back in a conventional way, would involve putting that rack in place, the standard rack itself. Now, of course, then you've got to find room for a pump, a reservoir. It turns out a cooling system, which is not unlike the one on the Transaxle. So there's a lot of space required, which of course we haven't got under the hood there at the front because of the Chevy motor. Not least of all, you've got to line it all up with the pulley off the motor, which of course is not the Porsche motor, it's the Chevy motor, and that in itself might be quite tricky. So we are exploring electric power steering, which actually fits to the column in the cockpit itself. Mike from IDR, who's now very much a member of the team, is going to be looking at that, ordering one in and potentially test fitting that so we can see what that all looks like. So that'll be in another episode, and I think we'll call it a day for now because everything's kind of up in the air. When we get something specific, there'll be more on this whole story and the development. That's going to include removal of the whole rear glass and fabrication of a perspex, plexiglass and aluminum replacement for that, again saving an enormous amount of weight. So in order to catch that new episode, the next update in the whole thing, please do make sure you subscribe to the channel. If you thought this video was any good, give it a thumbs up, and of course encourage others to watch my lunacy.